Welcome to Gamedev Insights, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of game development. Today, we're thrilled to have Michał Buras, a seasoned senior developer with over a decade of experience in game development, join us for an insightful conversation. In today's episode, we'll explore a range of topics that highlight the unique challenges and opportunities faced by programmers in the games industry. Michał, welcome. Again, pleasure to meet you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Cool. So Michał, let's start. Let's start from the beginning. So you actually are that programmer who transitioned from IT to game development. So could you tell us a bit more about about that path? Like how did it happen? How did it happen for you? And also, like, what advice would you give to someone, making the same transition as you did?
Okay, so while I was working in normal traditional IT, as you might call it, I was really strong in C++, and I was working in a cloud company where we had a lot of C++ and a lot of REST APIs. And that mix of skills was something that was very much needed in a VR company, VR for industry, where the C++ enabled me to learn Unreal Engine very quickly. And my online and networking experience was something that was very much needed at the moment in the project. So it was kind of easy for me because I learned Unreal and I learned gaming on the way. So yeah, and now I'm here.
Awesome. This transition and actually breaking into like the first role, game development like role in game dev as it's quite challenging. So is there like any advice that you can share to all the people hoping to get into the games industry as programmers? Something about any advice on their portfolio on
I think you have to, when you want to go into game industry, you have to pick your weapon of choice, and your weapon of choice would be either in-house engines, where you need to be super strong in C++. All the super magical pointer types, all the containers. You have to know it just like that, and or Unity or Unreal Engine. So those are the three major ways to develop the games. So if I was a newcomer or if I wanted to rebrand myself, well, obviously I'm a fan of Unreal Engine, so I would pick Unreal Engine and learn it. So you just go through all the tutorials, all the stuff in the internet that you can get your hands off, learn that, and I think it should be enough to get you started for a junior position. I mean, there are some basic concepts that kind of differ. In games you have like this game loop that loops all the time in game, and it's kind of wasteful, but that's the way the games are done. So you kind of you're a bit switching the paradigm from regular object oriented, which you're most likely right now doing in your job, to something a bit more different. So that's the advice I would give to myself previously. Learn a lot of Unreal, Michael.
Awesome. And how important do you think are personal portfolios, personal projects, games that were developed in one's spare time on game jams?
What you're saying is true, but there's a really good thing to having your own portfolio is that when you're going on an interview, you can keep kind of the interview in the scope of your knowledge. So if you don't have like any game in your portfolio and you go into the interview, you're going to be standing against the wall and being shot at with random questions. So it's and the outcome of the interview will be random regardless of your knowledge, because you could be like a very good programmer, but it just so happens that the problems they want you to solve you'd never had opportunity to even look at, and you're not going to be as good as discussing something that you did previously. So especially for junior positions, if they don't know what to ask you because you don't have real experience, having a game in your portfolio that you could like present and talk about, some cool technological solutions that you had. It's really good to have one. So when you're going like further into a senior position, you mostly talk about your previous experience and what you did in previous projects. Well, that's kind of my approach to interviews. Don't let them ask you random questions.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that later as well. Um, you said that it's like important that one chooses their weapon of choice, and do as much as they possibly can to learn all about it. Um, and this learning aspect like is also important as you are, as you're moving further in your career. The projects are getting more complex, the technologies are changing. So um how do you actually keep up to date with the ever evolving, like softwares, technologies, complexities of game development, so
Mm,
it's like really hard to balance out, like your 40-hour work week, or even more, with with also like setting a time aside to learn new things. So how does that actually happen for somebody senior?
main of the reasons that I switched from traditional IT to gaming is that all the cutting edge technology that gets out there, you basically you want to use it as soon as possible because it makes your life easier. And so when I was working for an example, in the cloud company, we had a very old C++ framework, and I would be if I'd stayed there, I would be an owner of a very large portion of the project of the company. They wanted me to be a lead, but I didn't want this to be this old dinosaur that develops some old application in some old library. I wanted to see what's out there. I wanted to do the cool stuff and play with the new toys. So it kind of comes with the industry. Like in game development, your game has to use all the new tools, because for an example, when there's a new physics engine out there, it enables you to make cooler stuff inside your game, right? And if they're not gonna use it, you're going to end up having bad reviews because other developers in another game had better physics engine. So it kind of comes with the territory. So this is the kind of the best part. Whether I want it or not, I have to learn the new stuff.
As a programmer, you're a part of the team, and as the
Hmm.
game grows more complex, the team grows bigger. And like the importance of like communication and soft skills also grows bigger. So like for you as a programmer, like how important are these like soft skills, and how did you actually manage to develop them?
Okay, okay. I'm not sure if I ever like developed soft skills.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of always there, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's something, you kind of, you learn how to write official emails that look nice, right? But with communications, in terms of communications, I don't think I'm always the same guy. Just.
So how did you actually like choose your path, like in game dev? So you mentioned that you're always looking for like for a place in which you will be challenged, where you will be learning new technologies. But from what I see, like you are like quite you found your niche in game dev. So how did that happen? Like how did you transition to now being like a programmer that is focused on networks?
It's kind of funny because it kind of came out organically. I mean, you like stuff that you're good in, and I was good in the stuff that I had previously experienced in. So it kind of came. I always wanted to be, like, a gameplay programmer, but I never get a gameplay task. Like, each time I go into a company and they promise me doing gameplay, I end up doing like networking related stuff. So I don't know. It just emerged organically. Although I'm thinking about trying some gameplay stuff as soon as I'm done with the networking stuff in my current position. So I don't know when that is going to happen.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully soon. Um, but like, is it hard to be? Do you ever like feel as if you are, I don't know, like maybe like pigeonholed? Like being like the network programmer and only the network programmer.
Well, no, it gives me a lot of satisfaction, because when you're a gameplay guy, you develop, for an example, doors. For an example, in our company, one of the gameplay guys is joking that he should write his position. He should name it door programmer, because the only thing he does is door, because they're so complex in this game. And I'm thinking that we have like a bunch of those gameplay guys, and I take their work and combine it to something big, and the outcome of my work is the end product, more or less. So I'm really satisfied with what I'm doing, and I don't feel that this niche is like it, that I'm held back or something like this. I mean, it would be fun. I really would like to make a deep dive into aspects of gameplay, because that would make my work, of course, better. The more you understand more different aspects of the project outside your scope, you understand it's better. Um, but yeah, I don't feel like I'm held back or that I want to switch.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I get it. And were there like any moments in your career where you felt that you were, that the only thing you were doing was, programming doors? Uh, and how do you actually, that's something that always like interests me, like how do you actually like keep yourself motivated, like when you're stuck doing something, something very complex, but still a bit repetitive, and that working on an Unreal PC game, like it's probably gonna take like another like 2, 3, or 4 years of work.
Okay, so I my approach is that I don't want to. I need to Google Translate this.
All good, all good.
1 second. Okay, so my approach is that let's not get tired, and let's not tire other people. If the current role is not something that I feel comfortable in, then staying for not next few months does not make any sense, because you're not going to be effective. And I think it's wasting resources of your company, it's wasting your own resources, and you should search for something that's really fun for you, and that you feel like you're growing. So and I did that previously, and I think that I think it was a good, it's a both side win,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So
So how does, like, can you share like any like insights or opinions or like theories on how does how can a company like keep their project like interesting, fun, and and the environment and how can they keep like the environment like stimulating for for team members? I mean, it's a complex question, but
it's a complex problem. I don't think that there's like a single solution for it. I think that apart from me going switching projects if I feel tired of it, I'm also talking about what can I do next in the project. So I think it's all about like the solution to this problem is generally communication. If someone gets super tired of doing something, of doing their repetitive task, I'm sure we can rotate on it. So it's not it's not that the only solution is kind of leaving the company.
Yeah, that's quite a hard solution. So now that you mentioned the importance of communication, can you tell us more about like how do you actually like bridge the communication gap between programmers, artists, designers, like all other departments that you're working together on a project with, because that is like quite a common issue. So how do you actually avoid this going like back and forth, misunderstandings, and losing a lot of energy and time in the process? What has been working for you?
I'd say that drawings and Microsoft Paint. That is something that I do, even if I have I'm explaining a client connects to a server. I always open up Paint and I draw a client, I draw a server, I draw a line, because like that makes I'm not sure how to translate this to English. It's a memory technique that you combine the verbal stuff with the visual stuff. So even if the drawing didn't explain, much, it wasn't like a super addition. But it makes your brain remember that there was some green color attached to the sentence, and and some shapes, and it makes you remember. I actually I don't have any troubles in communicating with the design, for an example, or with the art guys. And maybe that's because I like doing drawings my job in my free time. So
Has it always been like that, or is that maybe like a skill, a skill that you picked up from from somebody on the team?
oh no, I think it's something that just naturally came.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to draw a simple drawing than waste your breath sometimes, and it's fun.
Okay, awesome. Besides, drawing, in order to bridge, in order to bridge this communication gap with other departments, like, are there any other, tools or techniques that you found, like, particularly useful for keeping the project on track, or for keeping yourself on track?
hmm So in game development, mostly it should be on the production side, in tracking the project state and making sure everyone meets, everyone communicates with everyone. So I don't think I ever had to actually worry about this. Although I am, if when you become an owner of some larger part of the project, you have to track your tasks, even if you have a producer looking over your shoulder and making sure that you didn't mess up everything. So in the current company, we're using ClickUp, we were using Jira, but I think like even an Excel spreadsheet would just do the trick. It's uh, it's more about being organized, internally, and not about having the most expensive tools. Because if you're not organized internally and you don't know what's the right thing to do at the moment in your project, the most expensive tool will not give you that. It's not that you're going, it's going to pull off a magical chart that's going to say to you, make this and that decision, right? So
I wish a chart like that existed. Would make our lives much easier. So, as organized as one can be, there's still, unexpected challenges can still happen. So, how do you handle those unexpected challenges, roadblocks, in order to minimize delays and maintain maintain progress of the game?
Mm-hmm. In one of the companies, you were asking me if I picked something from an older colleague. It's not from game dev, but it was one of my CTOs said a magical sentence. There's no such thing as over communication, Michael. And what it means for me is that even if I have like the slightest doubts about where we are going or that we should think about something prior, I just say it out. Even if this conversation will end up with us doing nothing, and we decide that it's too early or that was just me freaking out because we're near the release or something. I think that you should communicate any doubts as early as possible, and you will be able to plan ahead on every occasion. It's not like you have like some magical power that's going to increase the number of people working on a project, or you're going to make the time stretch, right? You still have 2 weeks to do something, and if there's a roadblock ahead, you just have to dig your way through it. And there are no shortcuts on the road to success.
Oh, so this is just like so motivational. I'm gonna share this with 8-Bits team. We're gonna have like Michał Buras.
Quote A, quote B.
Quote A is there's no such thing as over communicating, and quote B is if there's a roadblock, you gotta dig a tunnel to your way to success. This is I already have like the entire visual solution in my head. Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Being a game developer with 10 years of experience, I'm guessing that you get a lot of that recruiters hit you up a lot. So can you share can you share what methods do these do recruiters commonly use to connect with you, and actually what approaches have you found to be the most effective?
So I think that still most effective is LinkedIn and InMail. InMail always stands out because if most of the good developers are already they're already having one of the best jobs of their life, right? So they don't go into LinkedIn 5 times a day, right? So the only thing to notice, the only way for them to notice any message is basically you in mailing them, because you use email for your daily life and your daily stuff, right? So I'd say that mail and LinkedIn is the best way to communicate. There was a second part of this question, right? I forgot it.
Yeah, but you you kind of answered it. What approaches do you find most effective?
Oh
So
yeah,
in these in these emails, what makes what types of messages actually catch your attention and make you wanna respond to the recruiter?
Short and to the point, I dislike very much, but maybe it's how the market works. I dislike very much when the recruiter holds off the studio name until the very end and the salary until the very end. So I've got this super position, but I can't tell you about it. And you're having this conversation for 2 weeks, and they're like, so it's studio A and B, and the salary is C. And you're like, okay, thank you. Couldn't you just tell me this earlier? I mean, regardless if it's something of interest to you or not, and even if this was of interest to me, I think we could get on the process and all of the we could start the recruitation process a bit faster, because I'd be more enthusiastic if it was the offer I wanted, and so I think just shorten to the point, and that's what the world needs.
Okay.
It's another quote.
Awesome. And and besides this initial message, in your opinion, like what actually separates like a like a good recruiter that you want to work with, or like a recruiter that you don't want to work with?
So I think there are recruiters and there are people who do sell campaigns. So people who do sell campaigns, they just have one offer and they just spam all of the LinkedIn with the offer, and if anyone catches, then they go on, right, with the recruitation process. But there are really recruiters who actually try to talk with you and try to find you something else. And it's not, and I'm not saying this because I'm in a podcast from a recruitment company. I'm not saying that. I really had like a really nice, not nice conversation, but a really nice interaction with the girl from a different company who was really engaged in finding something for me that suits what I'm looking for, and that was really nice. And so we had like three approaches in three different companies. It didn't work out, but like it was like I still appreciate all the effort that she did. So yeah. So regards, Dora. I don't know if you're gonna watch this. So but yeah, but I appreciate that. So and it was really good. We almost got really something really nice. So yeah, so
And moving on to to these like selection processes. So you mentioned that like one of your that like one of your advice for having these having these conversations is not letting the other side ask you random questions. So can you tell us more about how do you actually prepare for for an for an interview? I mean, what do
mm-hmm,
like, what are the questions that you
mm-hmm,
think about?
mm-hmm,
Like, do you write down your answers? Do you practice them? Do you, yeah, how does that look for you, especially now that and how has that changed since just started in the industry and now, you're a senior?
mm-hmm. So when I was starting in the industry, I was like I said previously, I was standing against the wall, and random questions have been shot at me. But right now, what I do is I kind of make a presentation. It kind of became a presentation where I just go into the call after the guys from the company present themselves. I present, hi, I'm Michael. I'm a network engineer with X and Y Z years of experience. I've worked in this company, so I started my whole career at company this, and then I talk about the project, first project, second, third project. Along the way, they usually start asking questions about that, and that gives you a nice base of to work with. So they more or less know where I've been at, and they can ask their questions, their random questions, but they're more like in the scope of my expertise. You can, for an example, if I ask you about some microbiology question at the moment, right, you wouldn't have an idea, right? So that's the same story. So yeah, so it became a presentation, and you have to remember, I had like the one interview with one startup, and the guy, I have to quote the guy. He said, "Well, it's an interview. Someone's buying, someone's selling." Think you have to remember that.
Awesome. And how and how wide and deep do your questions for the other side go? Like what do you what do you focus um in these interviews? Like what is the type of information that you want to that you find valuable and that you want to find out from from the other side?
I think the most relevant stuff is to understand what you will be working on, and how you will be working on. Is the company like super micromanaged? For an example, that's an interest of me. So I don't like micromanagement, and I like when the only thing that matters is me delivering the stuff on time. And how do I do it, and when do I do it? Of course, with common sense, right? You have to be more or less available in the core hours, but that I'm available in the core hours not because someone tells me to, but because I want to, because it's efficient for me. So oh my god, I forgot the question.
No. I mean, you've answered like because I mean, especially
Oh.
talk, especially
Hmm.
when I'm talking like with students or people that are just entered the industry. I find that they still do not look at this. They still don't look at the interviewing process as a two-way street. So as you said, somebody's
Someone's
buying,
buying,
somebody's selling.
selling. Hmm.
So I just want to like encourage people to feel confident to ask more questions.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
So
Can I pick up on the last question?
yes, of
Because
course, yeah.
so this is the one thing. That I'm curious about, and the other thing that I'm curious about is the actual job. What I'll be doing, where they want to put me, and what my responsibilities will be there. Because it's like from my side, like, and then now it's now the table is kind of turned, and now they're selling and I'm buying, and those are the aspects that are of interest to me. So yeah, so.
Hmm. After all these like years in the industry, like what does your portfolio look like, like, and when asked when asked by companies, like, can you share like some code examples, or can you share your portfolio? What do you do? How does it look like for somebody who's been in the industry for so long?
So I think when you're applying for for a senior position, there's a kind of a general assumption that you can maintain the coding like standards of the company. So you're gonna adjust, and no one really needs your coding sample. And in regards to the titles, I use links, so it's either to the project page or to the Steam product, and I think that does the job. I mean, sometimes you have when you're working for an outsourcing company, which was in my case. I had trouble because I officially I couldn't say I was working on this project, so it's kind of like in your CV you have like this black hole. I was working somewhere, and that's the only thing you can write according to law, right? But at the end, at the end you have to discuss it, what you were doing, and tell about the project. So basically, summing up, I just put links in my CV, and that's enough for everyone.
Hmm. Okay, and any advice for somebody, for somebody junior, like, what should they do? What should they do? And, should they set time aside like every week to, update their, GitHubs or personal personal websites or anything?
So I think instead of trying adjusting it all the time, I do something good, but once, something that shows that you're able to, for when you're a junior. So when I was talking previously, answering some question, I was talking about like kind of the shift of the programming paradigm. That it's you do games a bit differently than you do normal programming, and especially if it goes for the game engines, because game engines have their own like programming patterns. I mean, you write the same loops, the same logical statement, but the whole idea, how the whole thing is constructed, is a bit different. So if having a small demo project in Unreal or Unity that shows various aspects that you, for an example, how to do animation, your character moves, jumps, shoots, it animates, you can do some interactions, that will be a good base for a gameplay programmer. And so yeah, so that's more or less what I'd do if I was a junior right now.
So, Michał, thank you so much for this insightful
Mhm.
conversation. I know that our listeners will find it like very, very helpful and funny.
Mhm. Mhm.
Thanks so much for being with us
Thanks.
today.
Bye.